Welcome back to the official review. I'm Steve. This is Johnny. Johnny, this is MLB Trade Deadline. Tell me who you think are the winners and the losers of this day.
I think the biggest winner in my mind are the Seattle Mariners. The Mariners went out and they knew that offense was an issue for them. They have a lot of pitching this year, although the pitching is not as good as it has been in years past, but their pitching is still very solid. But they needed some lineup protection behind Cal Raleigh. And what do? They go out and get the best batter on the market, Eugenio Suarez, a guy who has 36 home runs to pair with your 41 home run hitter. Suarez, who played for the Mariners previously, they traded him, not last offseason, the offseason beforehand, to the Diamondbacks. Reacquire him. He was beloved in Seattle, so it's a great fit there. But between Suarez and getting Josh Naylor, who's having a great year this year, he was a very reliable bat. It really shores up that lineup for a stretch run for the rest of the season. It's just nice to see the Mariners are serious about going for it. Going after guys who are rentals like Suarez. I think Naylor's a rental too. He'll be a free agent at the end of the year. Just really them investing in this team because it's not often you have an MVP catcher like Cal Raleigh, playing the way that he is. They didn't really need to add the rotation, although they can get another rotation piece. That's not a bad thing. But yeah, shoring up that lineup, bringing in some really big bats to help, patch up the lineup behind Raleigh is just going to do a lot for that team. So I think I like what they did. I don't know if it's enough for them to really be a winner this year, but it's certainly good enough for them to be a playoff team. And then once you're in the playoffs with that rotation, who knows?
Yeah, I like it a lot, especially because I feel like they're 1 or 2 games out of the wild card spot behind the Boston Red Sox. And I just think the AL is so wide open. I know the Toronto Blue Jays are having a great season record-wise, but they don't beat opponents by that many runs. If you look at their run differential, it's very low for a first-place team. And I think the Seattle Mariners probably have the best middle of the lineup in the AL right now. You have a guy with 41 home runs, 36 home runs, Josh Naylor. I think it was a great move. You're not always going to get a championship-level team in Seattle. If you have an MVP candidate, I like it. That would have been my winner as well. If you want to know my second-place winner, just to be a little bit different, I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Phillies. I think Duran adds a lot to that bullpen. They have Jesus Luzardo, who's been absolutely terrible. He was blowing games against the Boston Red Sox recently. I think they just shored up a big hole in their team. They already have a great batting lineup with Schwarber, Turner, Bryce Harper, Castellanos 7, a little bit of a down year, but they're still an experienced playoff team. They needed that bullpen piece. So I'm going with the Phillies as my second place winner, but I agree. I think the Seattle Mariners are making big moves.
Yeah, I think the Phillies gave up a good amount for Duran, but Duran's worth it. I mean, Duran is one of the best relievers in the game. It really does help strengthen a weakness for that team after they lost Alvarado for 80 games and ineligible for the postseason too, due to steroids. So it's a really good move. Yeah, another NL East team that really did a lot to shore up that bullpen was the Mets, who really gave up a hefty price to get Tyler Rogers from the Giants and Ryan Helsley from the Cardinals. I mean, they gave up Drew Gilbert, who was a liked prospect by the Mets. So, but it really does help you in the playoffs, having that great back end of the bullpen. Now, in terms of a player that I really like the trade for them, Shane Bieber, the Blue Jays, I think is exactly what the Blue Jays needed. They needed another starter, and I think Bieber, who's looked great in his rehab starts, coming back from Tommy John, which he had last year, I think is a really good fit in Toronto. When he was healthy, last time we saw him was still a really good pitcher. It was unfortunate when he went down with Tommy John. If he can come back and be that ace again, they have a $16 million team option on him this offseason. If he's good, pick that up. That's a steal. And that really shores up a rotation behind Barrios, behind Gosman, really just deepens a rotation for a playoff run. You don't know exactly what you're going to get with a guy coming back from Tommy John, although it's a lot, not easier to come back, but it's easier to come back at the similar strength you were beforehand with modern medicine the way that it is than it was even 10 years ago. So I think that move could be a championship move for the Blue Jays.
I agree. I mean, that rotation is definitely not like the Oakland A's back in the day with Tim Hudson, Barry Zito, and Mark Mulder, but they're kind of 4 deep. I know it's not four.
That's kind of a random rotation to pick from, and the all-time great rotations of all time. Not Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz,
That's true. Hey, I'm an AL guy. I'm a Boston fan, and we had to go against that trio. They were monsters on that team.
They were good. They're very good.
Yeah, but look, such a big thing in playoff baseball is being able to just like they basically every game of a series can have a sick pitcher or a pitcher that you're not like, we're going to lose. A lot of teams are going to be in the playoffs, and they might have a game where they kind of have like a little bit of a bullpen game in the playoffs. The Blue Jays aren't going to need that. They have 4 really good pitchers right now. They're going all in. We might be seeing a Toronto versus Seattle big series. That could be great. The MLB playoffs are going to be great this year. My other winner for this is just baseball in general. I like seeing teams going all in. Teams are excited. I'm loving this deadline, honestly.
Yeah, this has been an interesting deadline. We now have seen 2 top 100 prospects get traded as of recording, which we haven't seen at the deadline. Didn't happen last year. I think it happened with one player in 2023, a top 100 prospect being moved. So it's really nice to see the deadline being as active as it is. Now, that being said, there are some teams that haven't really loved what they're doing. One team specifically, the Pirates, are just so confusing.
Wait, no, they're never trying to win.
No, they're not trying to win, but like they signed Brian Hayes to a really team-friendly contract, and he's one of the best defenders in baseball. I guess for a non-contending team, having a great defender isn't as valuable as it is for a contending team, but it's just like you get this guy at a great value, and then you move him for scraps to a division rival when the way your contract was set up with him was very front-loaded. So you paid off the big money already to him, and now the Reds are getting him on a bargain, a division rival. So that move baffled me. And then also, I don't get what the Tigers are doing this year. As of recordings, this might change, but the Tigers are a team that were so close to being, one of the best teams in baseball. They've had a big fall off over the last month, but they're still, in first place in the division. They still have the best pitcher in baseball. They need to add some bats to that lineup, and they really haven't done anything. This is the time for the Tigers. What are you waiting for? I think they might miss the ship, and other teams like the Blue Jays, like the Mariners, are getting better, and it just might not be for them. Like, they might just not be in this game as much. So those 2 teams, I haven't liked what they've done this trade deadline.
I agree with you. Especially with the Tigers. It's like you're not the Yankees, you're not the Red Sox, you're not the new Mets, you're not the Dodgers. You're not going to always have the number 1 pitcher in baseball. Like, Scooble's absolutely disgusting this year. I think you see these other teams being extremely aggressive, especially in your league, with the Blue Jays and the Mariners. They got to make some moves. My other loser, as of now, like I said, we have 4 more hours or a couple more hours, is the New York Yankees. Like, of all your problems, you go out and you get a defensive third baseman, Ryan McMahon. Like, I think they got to shore up that bullpen way more. I don't love their hitting. Obviously, Aaron Judge is coming back, and Giancarlo Stanton is, just starting to get in the swing of things. But, you're the New York Yankees. You have potential. You were just in the World Series last year. Your fans are as hungry as they've been in a very long time. You got to be more aggressive. Look what the Mets are doing. It's not this little brother, big brother stuff, but I'm a little disappointed in the Yankees. I think they got to make some moves.
Yeah, MLB Trade Deadline, as active as ever.
Great trade deadline.
Biggest disappointment with the MLB Trade Deadline today is that there are only 3 games happening, only one of them during the day. And so we don't get the patented hashtag hug watch when players are in the dugout and they're hugging each other and they walk out into the clubhouse and you don't know what's happening and you can just see that happening and you're like, oh shit, something's going down. Like, it's one of my favorite things is like you're watching a game at noon, like some good player from a scrub team, is all of a sudden getting pulled. He runs out from right field. You see him in the dugout hugging people. And you're like, well, something just happened. Do you remember the Wilmer Flores trade deadline?
I do not. I was kind of off baseball in 2015, but I'm so bad.
So in 2015, the Mets were rumored to get Carlos Gomez, great out center fielder at the time. And the big piece of that trade was Wilmer Flores, one of the pieces of the trade, who was starting at shortstop for the Mets that day. So there was a rumor that he got traded, Gomez for Flores, and other players. And some fans behind the dugout saw it on Twitter happen. And they're heckling Wilmer Flores saying, hey, you got traded. And Wilmer Flores is standing out in shortstop, and he's crying at shortstop because he thought he got traded. This is an organization, he'd been in the organization, I think, for a decade at that point. And, he was crying. And then in the 9th inning, he doesn't get pulled or anything. He comes up and he hits a game-tying home run in the 9th for the Mets that day, and that helped propel them, unfortunately, to overtake the Nationals that year and make the World Series, which they ended up losing to the Royals.
That's poetic.
Yeah.
The fact that he was heckled, cried, and then something inside him got him that home run, and wow, that really changed the Mets season. I really like that. It's a nice story. Happy deadline day, guys.
Happy deadline day. It's my favorite day of the year.